Hi everyone, my name is Jae Young. People call me Jay because Jae Young is kind of hard to pronounce, and you might know me from my patch rundown gifs and videos, but this is my Overwatch replay system concept. Before I start, I want to talk about the whole concept of a replay system. You know, for example, like why it's needed, what it's for, and who is it for. If you're not really interested in all of that, that's fine. Just jump to the timestamp on the screen right here and you can get to the good stuff. You still here? Alright, cool. So, a replay system is something that has been asked for, as long as the game has been around. I'm pretty sure Blizzard is working on one internally and it's just a matter of time, but feel free to indulge me right now. Okay, so first of all, who is this for, right? You might think, oh, everybody of course, but I think it's pretty optimistic to assume everyone wants a replay system. Some people just want to hop into quick play for some fun with friends, and that's perfectly fine. The idea behind a replay system here is that it exists as a supplementary tool for those who actually have an interest in utilizing its features while at the same time not being something compulsory for all players as to not overwhelm or pressure any of them. Okay, firstly, an obvious user of the system would be someone who's interested in improving their gameplay competitive-wise through either self-review or coaching, right? For this to work out, they need to be able to effectively record themselves playing, and just because people have the want to improve doesn't always mean that they have the means. Look, if you're barely breaking 30 or 40 frames, chances are if OBS or any other capture software running while playing, you're gonna end up suffering. So, the replay system helps take the load off while you're playing, letting you have the advantage of recorded gameplay while not affecting your actual playing. So that's one simple example of a player who used the system, right? Another way it might come in handy to other players is to view the replay system as an extension of the game highlights. Nothing much to elaborate on here. Sometimes a really cool play isn't a play of the game or even a highlight and it's lost forever. But with this, players will be able to go back into the match and grab that highlight from it. The play of the game system might not be the most comprehensive, but from a marketing perspective, it's done wonders for spreading thousands of clips of the game across the internet. And lastly, speaking of clips across the internet, this will also help out Overwatch content creators up their content game in ways that should be pretty obvious as the video progresses. Anyway, that's enough rambling for now. Thanks for listening to that. Let's get on to the good stuff. And as we go along, I will also talk about the thought process behind the design concepts and why they were executed in such a way. Keep in mind, I'm neither a game designer or a motion graphics expert, so, forgive me if the concept looks kind of choppy. Okay, so you can't really have a replay system just by itself, right? It feels kind of hollow, like it's all style and no substance. To be able to maximize the potential of a replay system, there's gotta be other stuff along with it, with match history being a pretty obvious one. This table design was inspired by the public game browser, and I think it kind of gets the job done. And the background here is obviously Watchpoint Gibraltar, it's because it kind of makes sense. So, we have the obvious categories like map played as well as date, but I think it's important to list down game mode and match time as well. The heroes played column shows all the heroes the player used throughout the entire match chronologically from left to right. There's also the option of sorting by different categories too, of course. For example, if you want to sort it by date, that's the default right there. If you want to sort it by map type, that's fine too. Whatever works out for you and helps you look through your match history better. So, when you choose a match to play, it gets highlighted, and you have the option of just playing it by clicking the replay button. Or you can, if you look right here, you can right click to view more information about the match, namely stats. So stats, that's a pretty big topic, especially in the competitive circles of Overwatch. It's numbers, it's necessary, it's something that you're always gonna need if you want to analyze Overwatch at a higher level. Anyway, first, take all these stats and numbers in this video with a huge grain of salt because, they're all made up. So over here on the overview, these are pretty basic stats, kind of like what you get in-game when you play and look at your medals, but these just really scratch the surface of what's possible, but I think it's a good start. Ideally, clicking on each stat would produce some sort of stat over time graph just to make the information more meaningful and visually comprehensive. And of course, there should also be another section with more of a scoreboard layout showing how the team performed overall. I know a scoreboard has been something that's been hotly discussed a lot. You want to have a scoreboard in-game during the match so you can see how your team is doing overall at a glance, but it makes sense to have one at the end of the game as well to see, at the end game stats how everyone performed. And if you look over at the blue team here, you might wonder why Mercy has less playtime than the rest of the team. It's because she started off as Moira, but eventually swapped, because you can see here by the hero icon. So ideally, clicking on the hero portrait would swap it over to Moira's statistics, and the most played hero would be on top all the time. And if you hit tab, players have the option of taking a look at how the enemy team did as well. If you lost, maybe you can see how, where their carry was. If you guys won, you can see how much better you did than them and gloat about it. Yeah. And as a little bonus here, there's also objective details. It's not really something that's super important, but if we're gonna go all the way and have stats and all, we might as well show how each team did capturing each objective. It separates according to each round over here, and you can see the blue team successfully defended on the third part of King's Row on the first round. And you can see the distance and for time banks for each point. And in the second round, you can see they managed to complete the map and win the match. Anyway, stats aside, let's get into the good stuff, the actual replay.
Now entering King's Row.
Okay, let's just pause for a moment here so I can say yes, this isn't an actual replay. It'd be great if it was. And yes, it's a custom bot game. I just needed something to fill the background. Focus not on the game, but focus on the what I'm going to show you on screen. So, the camera in the replay will work the exact same way as it does when spectating a match. Free cam and all, first person view, nothing out of the ordinary. It's like whatever you see in the Overwatch League. So, it's not much for me to show for that. Also, it cuts out a lot of editing for me. So, perfect excuse, right? So, that's how the camera works in a replay. But in case you missed it, this big rectangle here houses the replay tools. Okay, I know it takes up a good chunk of the screen, but it can be minimized, and if your mouse doesn't hover over the minimized tool, it hides itself down below. So, not too much of a problem. The tool really isn't something that's super innovative or special, since it pretty much draws inspiration from a whole bunch of other games as well. This tool it's nothing too crazy or new. The concept of pausing and playing something on a timeline is a pretty universal one anyway. However, there are some basic options available when using the tool. Obviously, there's replay speed going up to 4 times faster, and down to a quarter speed for some sick slow-mo action. All you montage creators out there would be happy with that. There's also the option to turn the overhead player HUD on or off, depending on your preference. You want to have a better overview, you can take a look. The first-person player HUD can be turned off as well in a similar fashion to inputting alternate Z, as well as player names for when you want to show off a replay, but I don't know, it's maybe from some super top secret scrims. Just a small optional addition. It's not something a lot of players would use, but the option is there if you want it. A more useful feature than hiding names and player HUDs is the option to display certain timestamps in the timeline. The whole idea of this is to give players more visibility to find points of interest during the duration of the replay that they like to jump to. For example, there's the option to see kills by the player's team, indicated by these green skulls. Or if you want, you can see deaths on the player's team, indicated by these red skulls. Or you can see both if you kind of want to look at an overview of how the kills and deaths on the team were distributed. In a similar fashion, there's also objective markers for the different capture points on the maps as well. I was also debating whether or not to show points where ultimates are used during the game. I'm not sure if that kind of info would be as important, but since they're really meant to be really impactful abilities, it kind of seemed appropriate to do so. And lastly, for convenience, there's also the option to show round markers just to show which round is which. Pretty simple concept. So when all the elements are up on the timeline, it gets pretty cluttered. So in order to make it easier for players to differentiate, the skulls and what's happening, there's the option to hover over each skull, and it shows you data on what happened. For example, I hover over this skull, it shows that the Hanzo on my team just killed the Zarya on the enemy team using his Dragon Strike. The idea behind these kind of hover tooltips is it draws inspiration from the already existing kill feed, which is, I think the kill feed's really good. It gives a good amount of information and players are already kind of familiar with it. So when they come into the replay system, they won't feel as confused because it's a similar concept that they understand. I'd say most Overwatch players know that, if you look at the kill feed, right? They know that if it's blue and an arrow and then red team, it means good. Blue team killed red team. It's fine. And if it's a red arrow, it's a headshot. And if it's an ability, they'll show it as well. So the idea is to take an already existing concept that people understand and just putting it into the replay system. And of course, if you hit tab during the replay, it brings up the scoreboard during the match. Obviously, these stats are bogus. They will adjust appropriately depending on which period of the game it's at, I'm not sure how Blizzard feels about implementing a scoreboard during actual games, but during replays, I don't really see the harm in it because it makes it so much easier to process the information rather than constantly switching from hero to hero to see how they're doing, right? If you want to be able to have an overview of how everyone's doing, it makes it so much easier to, just watch a replay. Anyway, that's about it from me for now. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. Don't bother subscribing because I honestly don't really care. Do feel free to share it though. You can think of this video as sort of my pitch / I don't want to say beg or appeal to Blizzard on the importance of a replay system for the game's health. Not only for the competitive aspect of the game, but also for the you know, the normal crowd. Just because it's a replay system doesn't mean it's only for competitive people. And like I said earlier at the start of the video, I'm pretty sure Blizzard is working on this one internally, but if they're not, feel free to draw some ideas, whether they're good or bad. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've been watching this whole thing, thank you so much. You can find me on Reddit. I'm mostly on the r/competitive Overwatch subreddit. I make patch shifts almost every patch. And yeah, say hi if you want. Thanks for watching, everyone.